The basic concept behind CAT is to give artists and studios the ability to reuse animation and character rigs as much as possible. And the way we have provided this functionality is in the form of rig presets. Rig presets allow the user to build a character rig and then rebuild it based on existing rig presets. The structure of our rigs is completely open, and there is no kind of character that CAT cannot support. All of these rigs have been built using standard rigging tools that come with CAT, and all of these presets come with the CAT demo and release builds. Now, I'm going to go over how we would build one of these rigs from scratch. So to do this, I'm going to press Reset and start a whole new rig not based on any existing preset. So to do this, I go to the Create panel, come down to Helpers, and find my cat parent. Instead of loading a rig preset, I'll select None and create an empty cat parent in the scene. The first element of my character will be the pelvis. So I press the Create Pelvis button, and I have a new pelvis sitting in the scene. I'd like this character to have 2 legs, so I press the Add Leg button twice, and I would also like this character to have a spine. Now the first thing I will start working on is the shape of these legs. If I select a leg, I'd like this leg to have 3 bones. I would also like this leg to have more of a zigzag shape, so I select the bones and move them into the shape that I would prefer. If I wish, I can customize the shape of each of the bones simply by using modifiers in the modifier stack. I'm going to start by adding an Edit Mesh modifier and modifying the number of vertices and the position of the vertices in this mesh. Once I've completed modifying the geometry of this bone, I can save this geometry into my cat rig skeleton by simply right-clicking on the object and go Convert to Editable Mesh. This is effectively the same as collapsing the stack, but instead of collapsing the stack, it bakes the geometry directly into the cat bone itself. If I turn off Use Custom Mesh, I'll get back my original mesh and I can re-edit it if I wish. I can turn Custom Mesh back on and keep the mesh that I've been working on. This is the ankle bone for my character, and I'm going to start by adding some toes to this character's leg. I'd like to use 3 toes, and if I now zoom in on these toes, we're going to start editing the toes. Each toe I would like to have 3 bones. It's very quick to edit these bones. I can just select them and move them. All bones in Cat 2 are now stretchy. We can also use the Scale tool if we like to help change the shape of these bones. With Cat 2 we implemented a new copy and paste system. This allows us to copy and paste settings from one bone to another. So if I rotate that bone around, I can copy this entire digit from this bone, from this digit, onto another digit. When I paste, we have 2 options. We can paste normal, which pastes the digit in exactly the same pose as the original, or we can paste mirrored. When the pasting mirrored, the entire configuration is pasted, but all the rotations are mirrored. We now have our 3-boned toe set up. We can zoom out. The copy and paste system works across all bones in Cat. So I can copy and paste this entire leg configuration from the right leg onto the left leg. And I do this by selecting the bone, coming to the Limb Setup Rollout, pressing the copy button. On the left leg, I select the left leg, and we can notice that the paste buttons are now enabled. If I paste mirrored, then we get an identical limb but mirrored on this character's hub. Spines are very easy to set up. We can select bones and move them around and stretchy bones mean that setting up the spine is very easy. If we go to the motion panel, one of the additions to CAT has been the addition of a spine direction vector. The spine direction vector allows us to customize the direction of this procedural spine. I'm going to leave this spine roughly up, but if you were to make a character whose whose hub was intended to move forward, you'd rotate this spine direction vector over. The number of bones in a spine is easily changed, so we're going to change this from 5 down to 4, and then re-edit some of these curvatures. This tip hub looks very similar from the base hub. All hubs in CAT contain the same user interface, and all hubs can have arms or legs or tails added. So with this tip hub, I'm going to start by modifying the shape and using some of the modifiers to edit the position of the geometry. And the modifier I'll start with is the Xform modifier. We can use this modifier just to adjust the position of the ribcage relative to the end of the spine, and when we're happy with it, we'll just go collapse all. And the position of the ribcage has now been modified. I'm going to press the Add Arm button, and we get a new arm added to the side of this ribcage. Collarbone is stretchy. If we want to move all the bones in a limb, we just double click, getting all the bones selected, and thereby we don't need to worry about editing lower joints. All bones on CAT limbs can be segmented. So if we select this forearm and come down to the bone setup, one of the parameters is num_segs. If I change this value to 4, this bone has now been broken up into 4 different segments. If I grab the palm and rotate it in local space, we can see how this twisting of this palm is affecting the segmented bones. If we select the bone again, we can see that there's also a bone twist weights graph. This graph enables us to bias the twisting of these bone segments. This enables us to do such things as avoiding twisting happening too close to the joint of the elbow that would cause too much distortion to the skinning. If we select the palm, we can see that this palm bone looks very similar to the ankle bone on the leg. Ankle bones and palm bones are very similar. Both have digits attached, and both come with a digit modifier rollout that we can see in the motion panel. Wherever it's gone. It's not available until we have at least some digits added, so we're going to do this by adding 5 digits. Once we've added the digits and go to the motion panel, we can see our digit manager, and the digit manager is very useful for editing your digits. We can select all the digits we would like to edit and press curl or spread, bend. It's very important to name your digits correctly. So for example, if I select this bone here, it's useful to name this digit thumb. CAT's naming system is very flexible, and as we can see, each bone has also a number which helps identify this bone. You can edit and change all the naming conventions that come with CAT and get any sort of naming convention you wish. Also, naming the digits correctly helps identify them in the digit modifier. When I'm happy with this arm, I can select the hub again. I'll rename it to rib cage and press Add Arm, and we get an identical arm that has been automatically mirrored for us. The next thing I'm going to do is add a head to this character. Oops, I might just move that sideways. Now if I do any edits to one arm, it pays to copy and paste those edits back onto the opposite arm. Now I'm going to select this rib cage and add a new spine. This spine grows out of the rib cage, and we can edit the position of this spine, and we can grab the tip hub and just move it down. Spines are very easy to work with. Now this character is going to have multiple heads, and that's why I've moved the head to the side. So the first thing I'm going to do before I keep working on it is start adding a few extra bones to this head. The new extra bone system in CAD is designed to give the user the ability to create bone hierarchies that we have not provided any basic presets for, and one of these bone hierarchies may be facial bones. So if I press the Add Bone button, a new bone is added to this hub. I can rotate it, reposition it, make it longer. Each bone can also have more child bones added, and thereby allowing the user to create completely arbitrary hierarchies. The copy and paste system makes it very fast to set up facial rigs because you can copy and paste bones from one side of the head to the other. So if I press Add Bone again, this bone here I'd like to make an identical mirror, so I press Copy, select this mirror bone and press Paste. Here we can now see that we have a basics of the facial rig underway. If I select the hub again and press Add Spine, we get a new spine added to this bone, and it's basically still got the default settings. If I select this hub here, I can now press Copy, select the new hub, press Paste Mirrored, and we get a new identical head but with mirrored settings. So there's no restriction on the structure of our characters. I want to select this hub and press Add Tail, and we get a new tail. Unfortunately it's going straight out through our character, so the next thing I'll do is select this bone and rotate the whole tail over and move the tail out the back. If I want to move the whole tail, paste a double click and have all the bones selected and pull it out. Also, with multiple bones selected, if you decide to rotate, our tail has the added functionality of interpolating rotations right down through the tail. So you can select just a few bones, and this makes it easier to create nice long smooth curvatures. Once we're happy with this rig, it's very easy to just select the cat parent and save this rig as a new preset, allowing us to recreate as many of these rigs as we ever need.